You're listening to You Don't Even Know. I'm Kalia.
And I'm Terry Lynn. We're two moms, two business owners, and two friends keeping it way too real about motherhood, mental health, and everything in between.
If you've ever needed a soft place to land or just someone to say, me too, you're in the right place.
Let's get into it.
So, welcome back to You Don't Even Know. I'm your new mom friend, Kalia, and we have Terry Lynn again on here today, of course, and we have a special guest here with us, Caitlin Noseworthy. We are so excited to have her on here today. Just to give a little overview of, or like kind of touching on what we'll be chatting about, is that, women and girls are more likely to have the inattentive type of ADHD. And that's what we're going to be diving into today. So struggling with focus, organization, forgetfulness, rather than hyperactive impulsive symptoms. So what does that look like? Maybe the to-do list never ends. Maybe the little things like packing lunches, replying to texts, or remembering where you put your keys feel louder and more exhausting than they should. Maybe your brain feels like it's moving in every direction all the time. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone. Many women live with ADHD for years before even being diagnosed, which is crazy. Often mislabeled as anxious, overwhelmed, or too sensitive, they quietly carry the weight of managing 1,000 spinning plates, with no one noticing how hard they're working just to hold it all together. So, Caitlin, thank you so much for coming on today to You Don't Even Know.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you guys. I'm excited for what we're going to dive into because I know a lot of moms and just women in general, especially women over 30 or like late 20s for sure, like around when I got diagnosed. I feel like there's so many people who maybe need to hear some of this stuff today. I don't even know specifically what I'm going to say, but I was like, every time I get in front of another mom or a woman over 30, this topic comes up every time, and everyone just feels so validated in, what they've been experiencing. So I'm just hoping that even one person maybe will feel better after hearing our conversation, maybe.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I'm so excited. And listen, before we get into all that, I am so excited to chat with you because you are a mom, you are a very successful business owner, and I kind of want to dive into that first because a lot of our listeners, they might know the brand name, but they might not know Caitlin Noseworthy that well. And I want to get to know you better. So for anyone who's listening or watching, I'd love to hear about your business story and your success story, and also about motherhood. But my first question, I guess, is what came first, motherhood or the business?
So motherhood, I had my daughter Blake in 2017, and I was home on maternity leave with her. And my husband was working away in Labrador and Alberta. I don't know. He was on rotations. I don't even know exactly where he was at the time. Doesn't even matter because it felt the same. He was gone, and I was trying to figure it out at home alone with this newborn. And I obviously, looking back, had ADHD and didn't know. So constantly needed to be doing something. I hated being alone with the thoughts in my head. Like I needed to be at something every minute of the day. So if she was napping or, babies don't do much at that age. So, I was like really bored, honestly. And I am the person who starts a million crafts and hobbies. Like I've always been like that. So I don't know, I saw something somewhere or I was thinking I was spending a lot of money on shirts for me and Blake. Cause when you have your, little girl and you want to match, that's how I was. I was like, I got to buy all the bows and I wanted all the matching shirts. So I was spending a lot of money on Zulily. I don't know if you guys remember Zulily.
I remember that.
Oh my gosh. I spent so much time on that while I was trying to pump because I was an exclusive pumper with Blake. I desperately wanted to breastfeed and I just couldn't make it work. So yeah, it was hard. So I was spending a lot of time scrolling on my phone and shopping. And then I was like, oh, I could totally make these shirts. I could totally just start a little craft and hobby to take up some time while Andrew's away. So I said to him, I was like, my birthday's coming up, my 25th birthday. And I was like, I could get one of these Cricut machines. And he was like, oh my gosh, one more thing for you to just like buy and throw into the closet and never touch again. So I was like, okay, well, you could make stickers for your car, like decals, because he was like buying decals on Etsy for. I was like, we could do all this fun stuff. So I convinced him.
You like sold it to him. You're like,
yeah. And not that
like,
he
I'll make you a
would've-
sticker.
Yeah, right. He wouldn't have actually cared. Like he would have, obviously just been like, whatever you want to do. But I just needed to like convince him that I wasn't wasting all this money and time on something that I wasn't going to do anything with. So I got the machine and then I started playing around with it. And I was really big with the mom groups. Like I loved my mom groups. We're still friends 8 years later. We still go for dinner every Christmas. So having that community, you guys know how important it is to have your village. So they were my first customers. I was coming to baby groups with our little shirts on and they were like, oh my gosh, like, where did you get that? And I was like, I made it. They were like, oh, so I did all of their first birthday shirts. Like most of them, their first birthday shirt came from me. And then Patty's Day and Valentine's Day. And then it just kind of blew up from there because the moms have their own networks, right, of more friends and family. And it just started to really blow up. So I wasn't expecting that, but it all happened really organically. And I think that's like the point is that it was something I loved doing. And it was something that brought value to people who, were in my life and in my circle, and it was making their lives, I guess it's a shirt, but at the same time, they wanted to buy shirts for all these occasions. So just as well that, I got to make them for them. So yeah, that's kind of the humble beginnings.
you go ahead, Carolyn.
No, I just remember watching from the sidelines the start of it vaguely, because I remember it was during COVID, wasn't it?
It was. So it was like starting to take off COVID was starting, but we had already started in my house, I believe. I'm trying to remember the years because we moved into a store in 2018 is when we opened a store.
That is huge to start a business commercially right before the pandemic, basically, and then have to go through the pandemic and then come out the other side still alive. Like, how did you do that?
Okay, so the pandemic was crazy. That is really when the business blew up, which is crazy because a lot of businesses didn't survive the pandemic, obviously, right? A lot of people had such a hard time. But the one thing that was good for us with that was that people were really doing the support local movement, and people had, of course they had extra money that some people, weren't supposed to have, and everyone just had like extra money and nowhere to spend it. Like they were not able to travel. They were not able to like just, go shopping at the mall. So there was a big, big movement of shopping online and especially shopping local. And we did like the curbside pickups and I remember quarantining all the like exchanges and so much craziness. We all had to get like trained. There was rules about like who could work when, and it was crazy. But like when we moved into our bigger store, so like my business has gone like this, which, we can talk about more, but we were in a small store first in 2018, like a little store just across the parking lot from where we are now. And that was the first location, but we quickly outgrew that. And then the pandemic happened as we were shifting into the bigger store. So that was probably not the best timing. The rent was like triple what we were used to paying. The space was triple. We had to do a lot of renos, a lot of work. We had, at its peak, we had about 40 employees. So it was a lot. Yeah. But I think it's so funny because this is all looking back. This was such impulsive moves on my end. And like, I was, inexperienced. I still am learning things every day, but like, I had no idea what I was doing, right? Like I didn't expect my business to go the way it did. Like there was so much happening. We blew up into like making, $1 million in 1 year, which was just like, I didn't ever expect that. So
Can we
when
just
that
take a
happened,
second? Let's just take a second. $1 million in 1 year.
yeah, it was like over $1 million because I remember hitting it, I don't remember hitting it. We had already surpassed that when I realized, and that was kind of like crazy. It was a pivotal moment because, but it's dangerous. It's really dangerous territory. And this is sort of what I want to talk about, because if you listen to any previous conversations or podcasts or interviews that I've ever done with the news or other people, I just, I want to kind of squash the idea that making $1 million is like the best thing to ever happen to you. Because like, until you hit that and until you get that amount of growth, if you're not ready to receive it and manage it properly, then you're not going to have a great time with it. So I had never had $1 million before. I had never made that kind of money in my life doing anything ever. And I was like 27 when that all happened. So not really what I was expecting. And I have been very impulsive my whole life, just one of the traits of having ADHD, like unmanaged. So when I received this, all this money, it was really like all I could see were the shiny things. All I could see was like, we need a giant team. I need an assistant. I need a bigger store. I need a fancy car. I need purses and things, and don't get me wrong. I still love nice things. I still like those, like, feeling comfortable and luxurious and things like that, but not to that extent. Like I had gotten to a point where there was just so much noise in my head that eventually, this was around when I was having my third daughter, I basically just backed away from everything altogether because it was too much. I was completely overstimulated. I had other people running my business. It just got to a point where I just couldn't like handle it anymore. It was like a beast, I created a monster. What's that?
It sounds to me like a little bit of burnout there, like ADHD burnout, which is what I've been reading about a lot, when people are super hyper focused and then it just all comes to crash because of this fixation, hyper focus, and then just it has to go down. What goes up must come down. Is it, would you attribute it to burnout, or do you think it was something else?
I would say burnout. I did get diagnosed with clinical burnout. So this was the turning point for me. So right after I had given birth to Bristol, who's now 3, so in 2022, my doctor pulled me aside and like, thank God, like I literally have the best doctor ever. She's been my doctor since I was pregnant with Blake. So she is also an ADHD mom with 4 kids running her own clinic. So like she's, just gets me, and I'm so fortunate, and I hope other people get to experience her. You guys probably know her, but so she's like you could only get in with her if you were pregnant, right? So I was like, thank the Lord, because the first doctor I saw was like, okay, we're gonna do an internal exam before we even. I was like, no. I was like, do we need to do that? Like, I just want to know if I'm pregnant. And she was like,
sick man, like, come on.
God. So then when a friend told me about Dr. Monahan, I was like, oh my God, I'm calling her. And she was like, whoa, what? You don't need to do an internal exam to find out you're pregnant. She's like, you can pee in a cup. That's fine. I was like, okay. So she's been amazing. And she is the person that when I had gained, oh my God, probably 80 pounds. Like I'm 5'3" and I had gained so much weight, just extreme amounts of weight. I was impulsively eating. I didn't realize at first, because Dr. Monahan was kind of like, what's going on? Like you've been on this like trajectory and it's not good. She's like, I'm going to be blunt with you. So I didn't go to her saying, I want to be diagnosed with ADHD, because I didn't think I had, or I thought I had it, but I didn't think it was a problem. Like, I didn't think it was making my life as hard as it was. And she was seeing it. Like, thank God she was seeing it. So I would go in for my regular checkups with the baby and all this stuff. And she was like, how are you doing? I was like, I don't know. Like, I think I'm okay. She's like, are you sure? And I would just like break down. I'm like, life feels so hard. Like 3 kids is hard. That's one hard thing. 2 kids is hard. 1 kid is hard. No kids is hard. But 3 kids is hard. Running this business that turned into this beast of its own was hard. having all this impulsive like spending and binge eating, that was all hard because I didn't feel like myself. I was like so unhealthy, inactive after being someone who, was fairly active before having kids, like went to the gym all the time, walked, ran, and I was doing nothing but online shopping, planning trips that I like didn't even really care to go on, just like feeling like I needed to do all these things to be someone that didn't even feel truly in line with my values. But just there was so much noise in my brain telling me that the only way people will know you're successful is if you do this, this, this. And I was like, this is very vulnerable. Like, I was like, I don't think I've ever said this before, but
you.
Oh, I'm actually tearing up.
Yeah. So it was like a big, basically like an epiphany, I suppose you could say, like where she was like, there's something, going on, and I suspect it's ADHD. Like it runs in my family already, so the chances were higher. But she was like, just based off of following you now for 8 years, or at the time, I guess it was 6 years. She was like, the weight gain, the spending, the just burnt out. She's like, I'm diagnosing you with clinical burnout, and also you have ADHD. She's like, we'll do the assessments, but I know that you have it. And I was like, okay. So I met that with a lot of resistance. I was like, well, ADHD is actually my superpower. And without it, I would not have started this business in the first place. I don't think I would be able to handle 3 children without ADHD, because, not saying that, but, just like you constantly have to be going, like, there's so much happening all the time that if I didn't thrive off of like doing a million things at once, I don't think I would do it at all. So I don't know. I was like, I don't want to dull my superpowers by like going on medication or something. I really was resistant to that. I had a lot of like stigma around that. And I feel like at the time too, there was a lot of chatter about how like everyone just wants a diagnosis. Everyone just wants to be mentally ill so they can have a cop out. And that kind of was like playing in my head. I was like, I don't want people to think that I'm just like a quitter or like, I can't handle it, that I'm weak. And all these things came up. And I told that to my doctor, and she was like, okay, so first of all, here's a million podcasts about ADHD, because you need to go change your mind about what ADHD means and that it's not something to be ashamed of. And she was like, you need to go apologize to your sister, because my sister has ADHD and she has always been very like vocal and open about it. And like, we'll have these conversations with people and debunk all these myths that people have. She was like, you need to go to apologize to your sister and tell her that, medication is a great way to handle, ADHD symptoms and to not have this stigma, because she's like, I can tell that you've had conversations with her where she probably felt like invalidated with her struggles and for trying to get help for it. I didn't think about it like that. So she really helped me shift my mindset on what ADHD was and what it meant for me, like having the diagnosis. She was like, life doesn't have to be this hard. You're basically like on this hamster wheel, getting nowhere. You're, if anything, going to like kill yourself early, because I have hypertension and I was eating terribly. I was like, my parents have diabetes. So it's like, you're on the track to have diabetes, like heart failure with, the high blood pressure, just the stress of it all. Like, she was like, you really have to change something, anything, or you are not going to, outlive all of this stuff. So, and it was a very serious conversation. It wasn't, lighthearted. It was like, you have to do something. I'm concerned about you. And like, I'm so grateful that she did that, because I don't think I like realized how much of an impact all of that was having on me. I didn't think a lot of things through before I did them, like extremely impulsive. I like, made decisions without really fully thinking them through. And now I don't regret anything I've ever done or any decisions I've ever made, because they brought me to this point where I can now look back and take them as learned experiences. but there was a lot of struggle to
Well,
get here.
like, honestly, thank you so much for sharing that. Because, like, it's not easy to talk about this stuff. It's not. And I really respect you for, first of all, going through all that and doing the work on yourself. Because, like, that is hard. It's really, really hard to, like, face reality sometimes. Because it's so easy for us to just, again, stay on that hamster wheel, keep going just because, we feel like we have to. And, you seem like you had that really hard conversation, but it took you to make the changes. She could have just kept, had that hard conversation. You could have just went out that door and continued on that hamster wheel, but you didn't, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So let's kind of focus on, like, now, where are you two right now, Caitlin? Like, what is life looking like? Because I know Terry Lynn has some more questions about the ADHD, but let's just talk about the present day. Like, how are you right now?
I feel like I'm in a much better headspace. I'm physically much healthier. Like, I'm going to the gym more. I'm in a routine with the eating, and I have a better routine because I put myself on the schedule at the store and I have to go to work. So before all of this and the diagnosis and stuff, I had absolutely no routine. I had free range of whatever I could do, whatever I wanted to do. Nobody was really relying on me except to pay bills. But half the time I didn't know what was going on at the store. I was under this impression, and maybe, I got information from like coaches or communities or whatever. I don't want to blame anybody, but I think I was sort of like thinking I could step away from my business this early on, which I truly don't think you can. You do need to know what's happening in your business. You do need to be present. You can't just totally back off. And if you do that and you let the whole, ship run itself, it's not going to do that. Like, you are the person, the glue, the person who came up with this idea. So I was telling myself that I didn't need to be there, but that's when stuff started to go south. So now that I'm actually on the schedule, and if I don't show up, the store doesn't open. I have to unlock the door, turn the sign, and be on cash 3 days a week. So I was like, 3 days a week, that's still in line with my core values of family time and me time. And, I can work from home on the other days and I'm not in the store. But 3 days a week is my sweet spot of, I know what's going on. I'm very connected with my team. I'm talking to customers every day. So that itself has been huge, like a pivotal movement. So yeah, I feel much better because I feel like I'm more aligned. Like, I was all over the place before, just really didn't even know if I wanted to still do this, like this business at all. I've just considered so many options. I'm like, do I just walk away from it? Do I just go get a normal job? Do I get my husband to go back to work? Because he's been a stay-at-home dad since like 2019. So I'm like, does he just go do that? And I can just sit back, but I don't think I'd be able to do that. I love what I do. I love the creativity. I've always been very creative. I love crafts. I love making stuff. So I love what I do. I do not want to give that up. I think if I gave it up, I'd end up doing the same thing again in like a different capacity. But yeah, I just feel more connected with myself and with the people around me.
That is so beautiful. And I'm so happy for you. Like that balance of, you found out that, okay, I actually really do love this. You got back to the why, right? Why you started it all. And you now are, I think for all of us, in whether you're trying to start something or you're in it or you have a 9 to 5, you're constantly trying to figure out what's best for you and like trying to regulate your nervous system and make sure that you feel good. And that looks different for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you're an inspiration because you are constantly working on yourself, trying to figure out, okay, what feels good for me, what feels good for my family. And that is something to be, really, really proud of, which is incredible. Terry Lynn, I know that you had lots of questions. If you want to share what's going on with you, and I know that you have a lot to ask.
A lot of it was asked or answered, I should say, in your story, because a lot of it was about, what routines and tools you used and like what's your secret sauce for like having ADHD in your business. And you kind of answered a lot of that. But I'm just thinking, as you were talking and as you were explaining everything, it was almost like a reflection of what I'm going through currently and chasing the next dopamine hit of business, like I got this done. What's next? What's next? And I'm currently getting assessed for ADHD. So I'll be open and since we're being open and talking about ADHD, this is something that has been on my mind. And someone said, if you're asking yourself all the time, if you have ADHD or if you're on the spectrum or neurodivergent, chances are you are, or you wouldn't be having that question in your mind. Like if you're researching it, if you're looking for information, chances are you wouldn't otherwise. If you didn't have it, you wouldn't think about it so much. So, I mean, I think as a business owner, it is definitely a superpower to be on the spectrum with ADHD. And it gives you that creativity, like you mentioned, like the crafts, the arts, the like ideas that nobody would be able to come up with except for you. And that's like, as you were saying how you went back to work, I was like, that's amazing because that's what your business is. It's you creating this thing from nothing. And without it would be nothing. So now that you're back into it, you can project all of your ideas, your cool different like I don't even know what you do. I guess you create all sorts of different things. I see all of the material that you come up with, and it's amazing, especially for moms. I love the mom stuff, and I think this will resonate a lot with the moms. But one of the things that like I think about as I'm going through this process now, a little step or two behind you is maybe a few steps, is the way that the brain moves and the way it moves so fast and like trying to slow it down. Like I feel like I'm constantly reaching for the next thing and I need to slow it down, like, especially as a mom also of three. Even like I even said to my friend recently that like everything in my life has to feel like chaos. Like it's like that little dog in the fire, this is fine, and it's like it's not fine but I keep acting like it's fine. You're laughing because you know what I'm talking about. But like even having kids, it's like one more, one more, one more, you know what I mean? My work, like let's keep going, let's get this going, let's add this, let's add an assistant, let's open another location. That's what I'm thinking about next. But are these real thoughts? Like once you get diagnosed, the slowing down of the brain, is this truly like who you are in your brain, or is it just a bunch of dopamine hits that are coming at you? I know that's a very deep question, but does it make sense?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. So the medication, I mean, there's so many different kinds, and I'm not a doctor and I'm not qualified to speak on any of this stuff, but just from experience. So like the medication I take I'm still on the starting dose from like 2.5 years of when I got diagnosed. So I feel like, like it's actually working for me. It works. And there is a lot of people who have to kind of like switch around and try different things. So don't get too caught up on what this is going to look like for you. Because I have many, many friends and colleagues who have ADHD and have a different story. It's like your labor story and your birth and delivery story. Everyone has a different kind of story. So for me, I've had a really good experience with the medication. When I started taking it, I was like, it's like I was able to be more present. Like I before was not able to just sit there and like do any one task without having a couple more going on either in my head or on the sidelines. Like I would be like texting while driving, while eating a sandwich, like not safe, but I just can't be like bored. I have to be constantly stimulated. So I found that it's really given me the ability to just focus on one thing at a time. Now I'm still all over the place just naturally, but it's an improvement for sure. And then it's also helped with motivation. I don't know if you find this, like you'll get big bursts of like motivation where you're like, I'm going to start this new business. How many new businesses did I start in the last 6 years? Probably like 10. I don't know. Like I've done coaching, we have the woodworking still, the saltwater, we had the Saltwater Collective, we had the creamery. Like I have to try everything. So
It's always successful. I will say, you say, oh, all these businesses, but as you're listing them off, I mean, there have been bursts of successful moments or very successful moments in those. Not all of them have, continued on, but I just want to say that you've created a lot of successful things.
Well, thank you. I'm like a chronic like business starter. I just always have ideas. Like I'm always thinking of something, but I feel like I'm just good at starting them and then not finishing them. That's my thing. I can't I don't go all in on like anything. So except saltwater, I feel like, but that's because I have a team who's actually grounded and actually has invested a lot of time and energy into this business. And without them, it wouldn't be what it is. So just putting that out there, like I love to start ideas, but finishing them is just, I don't know, could be ADHD, could be me. I don't know. Yeah. So it's helped a lot with just like being able to like quiet the chatter because there's so much noise normally in my brain. There's so much, it's like, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. The kids need to sign up for these sports. They have birthday parties, they have this. And I'm like all on top of that. I'm want to try these new hobbies. And, I wasn't able to prioritize. I was like, no, I need to do all of it or it's a failure. So I would half-ass everything. Nothing would ever get done properly. It would just be a mishmash of things filling my day and getting nowhere. So now it's like I can actually tick things off my list and achieve things and do something from finish to start. And if it doesn't like bring me any type of value or joy or whatever, then I just can remove it. Whereas before I was like, no, I can't take that off or that's failure. Like, I needed to do that, but I don't anymore feel like I have to do everything all at once.
That makes total sense. It's also like, I'm just relating it to like tangible things in the household, keeping them and thinking you're going to be using them at some point. I do that a lot too. There's a lot of things in my house. I'm like, no, we can't get rid of that. I need that, or I can't get rid of this. You know what I mean? It's like tangible, but I just have a question. Like, if there's a mom out there or a business owner who's listening to this and they're wondering if they might have ADHD and they're nervous about seeking help, what would you say to them? What would be something you would say to help them reach out for help?
I would say listen to your gut. Listen to your intuition. If you feel like something is out of alignment, then listen to that. Don't listen too much, about people's like opinions or like the stigma or whatever. Just tune that stuff out. Just think about where you're at now, where you'd love to be, and, what's sort of in the way of that. Like why are you not where you want to be? What kind of obstacles are there? And I don't know, you kind of need to, I want to say, go inwards and maybe spend some time just reflecting on, where are you right now? And if you were to compare who I am like 2 years ago to who I am today, they're like two completely different people, completely different, same values, but just like actually aligning with them now. Whereas, before I was thinking I had to do certain things to be something, but it was totally out of alignment. So I would say, first just kind of validate yourself and be like, there is something out of alignment here. And then don't be scared to ask for help. Like whether you reach out to someone who's like a trusted friend or a health professional, a therapist. I don't want to say ChatGPT, but I'm like, honestly, go on ChatGPT and just do an analysis, not medical, whatever advice. And there's going to be people who are like, oh my God, stop with that stuff. But, and I know it's trending, so that's another issue that people have. But like, I think just doing some kind of research, whether it's ChatGPT or Google or going on some kind of resources and even like an assessment and going through the questions and being like, is it possible that I have ADHD? You can find these assessment tools, like the one my doctor gave me. She gave me like 6, but you can get those online. So if you go through it, then you could actually feel more confident when you go to your doctor and just say, listen, I suspect that I may have ADHD or anxiety or whatever it is you think. And has to be tested. I don't think there's any issue with that. Like, I am very fortunate that my doctor came to me and said, I'm assessing you whether you like it or not, because I can't have my patient be like this. Like, she truly cares. So, if you don't have that, then you do need to advocate for yourself. Oh my God, he's so sweet.
Like, yeah.
You got this.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the word I like to use is curious. Get curious and just get curious. Look up stuff, research, chat, and kind of then make the next point to talk to somebody like a doctor or someone who's medically professional, a medical professional.
Therapist. Like, anyone can see a therapist, right? Like, you don't need to have any kind of diagnosed mental illness to see a therapist. I think everyone should see a therapist, honestly. If I had that as a child, I feel like I would not have struggled so hard through life. And I'm sure, Terry-Lynn, you can relate with not having the diagnosis yet, but being like later in life, like into your adulthood and you've already had kids and and it's like, looking back, you're like, man, did this have to be so hard? Did I really have to struggle that hard?
Having the guilt, okay, this is something I've noticed since I'm in the process. I'm facing my inner child a lot, and I'm remembering things from my childhood that's like, wow, that wasn't people saying things, teachers, parents saying why can't you just do this? Why can't you just do that? Why are you doodling? How come you're not focusing? Focus, focus, focus. And it's come to my attention now that all of that wasn't a guilty thing for me. It was not me being inattentive. I just couldn't. And it's I just want to take little me and be like, you're going to be okay. And it'll get there. But that's the hard part, is coming to terms with some of the childhood things that was unacceptable, but it wasn't, it doesn't have to feel like a burden. You don't have to feel like a burden. I can't get my words out because my emotions are coming out, but you know what I mean?
It wasn't your fault, right?
It wasn't my fault. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
You're just a kid. That's
Kid that couldn't focus, but also that was one of the things actually that came up when we did a little bit of research on it, that studies suggest 50 to 75% of girls with ADHD are missed in childhood, and women are more likely to be misdiagnosed with anxiety or depression before receiving an ADHD diagnosis. So I've been on anxiety meds for, I would want to say 10 years. And that was just things falling off, the plates juggling in the air and just falling off, which I couldn't handle, which caused anxiety. And my doctor said, you have anxiety. And I said, yeah, I do. I definitely have anxiety. But why? Where did it stem from? And now as I'm going down my path, I think it might lead to ADHD. So do you resonate with that? Or do you feel like that's something that a lot of women are realizing now, that maybe they're not anxious people, maybe they're not depressed, maybe they're anxious and depressed because of things that they're not staying above water, so to speak.
So I can't relate specifically to having an anxiety diagnosis. However, I can relate to feeling anxious because I felt out of alignment, right? I just felt like I was doing things the hard way, and I was really but I was feeling like a mess on the inside, but masking them really well. So if you look at my report cards when I was growing up, I was straight A student, perfect attendance, but my parents were very strict with that stuff, had great grades, wasn't disruptive necessarily. And I feel I just really had to push myself. I had friends who were getting good grades and not even studying. Studying to me was a nightmare. I would have to try so hard to get good grades. And then studying was just the bane of my existence. MUN was awful. My first 2 years, I almost failed out, literally failed calculus 3 times, had 50%. I somehow pulled through and graduated on the dean's list in the last year, but I don't remember how. I just honestly coasted through it. I think, the business courses at the end, entrepreneurship, really saved me because I was actually interested. And that's the thing with ADHD, is if you're not interested in it, you're not going to do well at it, or you're not going to do it. So like you're going to struggle through it. That's the thing. Like once you find something you really truly love doing, you're going to be like the best at it. So, and you're going to, do so well. So, but it has to be something you like. This is the thing with ADHD, right? Like if it's not something that you like taxes for me took me like, I'm behind because I can't. It's so boring and horrible that I have to have some kind of like reward system. So my husband actually ended up just being like, I'm going to sit down and help you with it. And I was like, sweet, that was a reward because it was time we got to spend together. Even though it was organizing receipts, we got it done because it was like more enjoyable that way. So like you're probably finding that body doubling helps you a lot with tasks, like having a buddy do things or even someone sit on the phone while you're doing something is helpful. I feel like those are like classic signs that you may have ADHD because you just cannot focus on anything unless you truly love it. So the anxiety thing, yeah, like I feel like that does get misdiagnosed a lot. My doctor told me that, and a lot of people, like a lot of friends, were told they had anxiety when actually they had ADHD. They didn't have anxiety at all, some of them. So that's really frustrating because it's like, oh man, I've been like, treating something that I don't even have for this long and stuff still feels hard. But I feel like for anyone who actually has ADHD and got the diagnosis, it was just a big sigh of relief. It was like, finally, I can just step into who I am. I can release all shame and guilt about everything in the past and feeling like I was doing everything, the hard way or doing it wrong or just, you can kind of like just breathe again is how I can describe it. Like,
I'm so happy that you're able to talk about this and let everyone know your story so that others can hear it and resonate or learn from it or seek help or whatever it may be for them. Everyone's story is different, but it's so nice to see someone so successful as you use that as your superhero power or whatever you want to call it, but then also be able to talk about it and let others hear what you have to say.
Thanks. Yeah. I feel like there is definitely a lot of people out there. I know so many business women who are also moms who really have been struggling the same way. I'm like, we all have the same experience, like it's crazy that we're all feeling like this. And, sure enough, a lot of us are getting diagnosed and getting help through therapy and medication and stuff like that. And, the medication too, like, I feel like people have, thoughts about medication. It's like, well, I don't even want to take Tylenol if I don't have to. So like having to take medication for me is hard, but it's like, you don't have to stay on it forever. But, if you don't feel like you want to, and it's also okay to stay on it forever too. It's not something you can necessarily just outgrow or heal from or whatever, but there are people who have been able to come off it. And it honestly is just like something I needed to help me get my control back in my life, right? Like everything was spiraling and spinning out of control. And I was like, yeah, let's do this because I need to get a handle on everything again. I need to, tighten the reins and get back into my business, get back into doing what I love. Cause I was really feeling like I didn't love anything anymore. I was like, I don't love going to work. I don't love working out. I don't love even like hanging out with anyone. I was like, I just feel like everything is blah. So finally, like, getting the diagnosis and being able to take my power back and step into, back into work and back into hanging out with my friends and doing things that actually felt good was just like life changing because it was a quality of life thing. My life was just feeling really hard.
Man, that is so powerful. Like that is so, so powerful. And you worded it really well. You took your power back. And that took a lot of work. Like I'm mind blown by you. It's really powerful. I think that, people like watching and listening I feel like there's going to be a lot of birthing parents nodding their heads while they're driving, listening to this or like watching it now. Like it takes, you're being so vulnerable, but it's showing so much strength. because I think so many of us struggle in silence for a very, very long time because society expects a business owner or a mom to be a certain way. And when we aren't that, you feel like you're not going to be accepted, but we need more people like you who are open to chatting about this, because I think everyone feels a certain way that they might be scared to talk about openly. And that is like devastating to me. So more people like you that are openly talking about, mental health and diagnosis and their journey is super, super powerful. So like really, really appreciate you coming on today and chatting and being open with us.
Thank you so much, Caitlin.
Thank you for having me. I feel like this was a safe space to talk about this stuff because I wanted to for so long. I picked up the podcast mic so many times and started to record, and I just couldn't finish it. So it's nice to chat with you guys, and I love your curiosity about, being able to ask those questions, like thinking, that you may have ADHD and being able to ask questions about it, because I sort of wish I had done that before and gotten people's experiences, truly lived experiences with it, because that would have probably made me feel more validated and not have so much resistance towards it at first.
Yeah.
Acceptance is one of the hardest parts, I think. And getting the answers is the next hardest, making the actual appointment and speaking to someone about it. And and you said earlier about doing a task, but doing it with someone else or having someone on the phone. Well, here's you finishing your podcast or speaking about ADHD with a group of people who validate it and, accept it and accept you for everything that you are. As another mom, business owner, we're with you. We're with you here.
Thank you.
Ty is like the best cheerleader ever.
He's holding the block. He's like, yes.
So sweet. I do want to say, if anyone feels like they want to reach out to me on Instagram or anywhere, email, Instagram is probably the easiest place to find me. Don't be scared to message me. I honestly have had so many coffees and Zoom calls with people who have questions about anything, business, momhood, ADHD a lot lately. A lot of people have asked me now that I've become more open about it. Not super open like this, but in my stories, I've just started saying I have ADHD because, it's helpful for people. So if anyone does have questions or ever wants to ask me anything at all, shoot me a message on Instagram and I'd be happy to chat.
Thank you so much for that. And one more thing, just about your business as well. Where can people find your business and support you on a business sense as well?
Okay, so Saltwater Designs is, my main business. We have a store on Topsail Road, 673 Topsail Road in St. John's. We're online, saltwaterdesignsnl.com or Instagram at saltwaterdesignsnl. My husband and I also have this woodworking business kind of thing. So it's called Little Trouts Woodworks. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, or littletroutswoodworks.com. And yeah.
Incredible.
You're amazing.
If you are nodding, laughing, or feeling a little bit more seen right now,
Then you're our kind of mom friend. And this is your kind of podcast.
make sure you hit the follow so you never miss an episode. And if you're local to St. John's, come hang out with me at Making Music Academy. We've got classes for babies, music lessons for kids, and a whole lot of joy.
And if you're craving more connection and support in motherhood, come join the Harbor, Newfoundland and Labrador's 24/7 online village, where you can actually be real about your motherhood journey.
You can also find us on Instagram at The Harbor Community and at Making Music Academy.
Share this episode with a friend who needs it, because the truth is,
You don't even know until you're in it.
take care of you. We'll see you next month.